Hello everyone, today we are going to look at one of the latest DSET mathematics paper that occurred in the month of November, and we are going to start with obviously module number 1. So you're going to expect a lot of easier questions in this module, but obviously we will follow this up with the harder version of module number 2, which showed up for the November students this year. Now starting with this first equation, this is a linear equation that we have, and we're supposed to figure out the value of 90x plus 40. Now if you observe very carefully, if I multiply this entire equation by 10, 9x times 10 is 90x, and 4 times 10 is 40, and 67 times 10 would be just 670. So I would be able to convert this given equation into my required expression without actually calculating the value of variable y. So the correct answer for this question should be answer option D. Moving on to the next one. So what was question number 2 about? It was on pair of parallel lines. For example, if I know this angle is 72 degrees, then obviously this angle would be again 72 degrees. These are called vertically opposite angles, and I did shared all the angles on a given pair of parallel lines in my formula sheet. You would find it somewhere over here, right at the bottom. For example, over here you can see two intersecting lines creating a pair of vertically opposite angles that are always equal. So that question number 2 was obviously on just vertically opposite angles. Now moving on to the next question. A length of 450 meters is equal to how many decimeters? So we know that 1 meter is equal to 10 decimeters. So obviously 450 meters, you have to convert 450 meters into decimeters. So you're going to multiply 450 by 10, a simple question on unit conversions. You can just apply the unitary method as well if you're comfortable with that particular method. 45 times 10, that would give you your right answer as 4,500. Moving on to the next question number 4. So the equation is given to you. It says that 58 is equals to 2x plus 2y gives the perimeter of a rectangular garden that has length x in feet and width y in feet. So the width of the garden was 14 feet, which means which variable represents the width of the garden over here? Variable y represents the width of the garden. So you are provided with the value of variable y. That's 14. So if you substitute number 14 into a given linear equation, this is how the equation would look like. 58 is equal to 2x plus twice of the number 14. That would be 28. And if you subtract 28 on both sides and then divide it by 2, solve it for the variable x, which actually represents my length, I would be able to figure out the value of x as 58 minus 28 as 30 divided by 2x would be 50. Moving on to the next one, question number 5. Okay, so the relationship between the variables x and y is defined by an exponential equation. When x is equals to 0, the value of y is 40. I did told you guys that whenever we have the value of x as 0, the value of y always represents your starting value or principal value in a given exponential function. So we're going to start our exponential equation by a principal value of y as 40, and let's see what is the rate provided to us. This value of 40 is increasing by 50%. So my rate would be 150%, 100% plus 50%. That would be 1.5, and this value of y is going to increase by 50% for a total of x units, and the change occurs after every 1 unit change in the value of x. So that represents the unit change. So x over 1 would be my power, and in which answer option this is perfectly correct. 40 times 1.5 raised to the power x over 1, or just x, it's mentioned in answer option A. That should be the right choice. Moving on to question number 6. Okay, so we have a symbolic functional question. The function f is defined by f of x is equals to 1 over 8x. What is the value of f of x or the value of y when x is equals to 9? So you just have to substitute x as 9 over here. So 1 divided by 8 times 9, that should be 72 at the bottom. So 1 over 72, you can write this down in the form of fractions as well if you want to in your Blue Book software, which will be provided to you on the given exam day. So 1 over 72, or you can just convert this number into 4 decimal places. Both of them would be considered as the correct answer for this question. Moving on to the next one, question number 7. Okay, so this was question number 7, by the way. Oh, okay, here is question number 7. The function f is defined by f of x is equals to 3x minus 1 over 4. What is the y-intercept of the graph of y is equals to f of x in the xy plane? So this is a linear equation given to me, and we all know the constant at the very end always represents your y-intercept. We just have to code this constant in the form of a coordinate. So how can I write this down in the form of a coordinate? The value of c represents your y-intercept, or the value of y, where the value of x is always 0. So 0 comma minus 1 over 4 will be the right choice for this question. Moving on to the next one. Okay, so we have got two linear equations over here. You can just always plot these two equations on your Desmos scientific graphical calculator. The Desmos graphical calculator will automatically tell you the intersection point from where you can actually extract the value of variable x. But let's say if I put the value of 6y that is given to me as 14 over here, this equation would sound like this. X plus 6y is given to me as 14 is equals to 28. The value of x would come out as 28 minus 14. That should be 14 for this question. The next question, question number 9. Okay, so the length of a side square x is 9 centimeters. So obviously the area of this square would be 9 square, or s square, 9 square times 9 square, that's 81. So we know the area of the first 2D shape. The area of rectangle y is 32, and you're supposed to figure out the total area of these two shapes altogether. So what I'm going to do, add 81 and 32 into each other. The right answer for this question should be 113, perfectly mentioned in answer option B. Moving on to the next one. Okay, so during hibernation, American black bears do not eat or replenish calories. Okay, so that's a difficult word. A certain black bear weighed 293 pounds when entering hibernation and lost weight at a mean rate of 0.9 pounds per day. Okay, so that's how he's going to lose weight every day. So every day he is going to lose altogether 0.9 pounds. At this rate, how many days after entering hibernation would the black bear weigh 230 pounds? Now if you see, he was initially 293 pounds, but the final weight that he has to reach is 230 pounds. So what's the difference? 230 minus 293, altogether he has to lose 63 pounds, and he is basically losing 0.9 pounds per day. So how many days will this bear take to lose a total of 63 pounds altogether? For this, I'm going to divide 63 by 0.9, and once you put this on your calculator, you will get your answer as 70, which is perfectly mentioned in answer option C over here. Moving on to the next one, question number 11. Okay, so I've got a cubical function over here, and what does the question say? The complete graph of y is equals to f of x is shown. For how many values of x does f of x or y is equals to 0? Basically, you just have to count the x-intercepts, because at all the x-intercepts in the world, not just for the cubical functions, but for all the functions in the world, when the value of y is 0, that basically means the x-intercept. So I can see 1, that's my first x-intercept, that's my second one, and that's my third x-intercept. So basically, I've got 3 values of x for which my variable y or f of x is actually equal to 0. I just have to code down how many values of x do I have for which the value of variable y or f of x is 0. So the correct answer option should be 3, perfectly mentioned in answer option C over here. Okay, so moving on to the next one, question number 12. B square plus 4c is equals to 7d. The given equation relates the real numbers b, c, and d, where d is greater than 4c over 7, which correctly expresses b in terms of c and d. So I have to make b the subject of the formula. Very regular question in all your DSAT papers. So b square, if I subtract 4c from both sides, that would be b square is equals to 7d minus 4c. And if you take square root on both sides, that would come out as b is equals to plus minus under root 7d minus 4c, and that's correctly mentioned in answer option D over here. That was question number 12. Moving on to the next question, question number 13. It's on quadratic equations. X squared minus 81 over 16 equals to 0, and you have to figure out how many distinct real solutions does the given equation have? You can also calculate the discriminant of this function, but I really think that would be a little time consuming than actually solving this equation. So for example, if you try to solve this equation out, x squared is equals to 81 over 16. And if you take square root on both sides, the first value of x that you would get would be 9 over 4, and the second value of x that you would be getting would be minus 9 over 4. So basically you're getting two values of variable x over here, which means how many distinct real solutions do I have for this quadratic equation? I've got two distinct real solutions, and that's perfectly mentioned in answer option C at the bottom. Now moving on to question number 14. Okay, triangle ABC and A bar, B bar, C bar are shown. Triangle ABC is dilated by a scale factor. Dilated means basically enlargement. So by a scale factor of 6 to form triangle A bar, B bar, C bar. So what does this mean? It means that every side of triangle ABC is multiplied by the number 6 to calculate the corresponding side of this bigger triangle, which means that both of these two triangles should be similar because the ratio of the corresponding lengths would always come out as 6. So we know the length of AB, that's this length is given to us as 18, and we really have to find out the corresponding length of the image of this AB that's over here, and we know that this bigger triangle is created by multiplying every single side of triangle ABC by 6. So what's 18 times 6? That would be your answer. This side would be 18 times 6. That would be 108 as your correct choice in answer option D. The next question. So we are provided with a standard equation of the circle. You just have to figure out the radius. Remember, this number, this constant after is equals to always represents the value of r square. So I know r square is equal to 361. Taking square root on both sides, I will get my value of r as the square root of the number 361. That's always 19. So the correct answer for the radius of this standard equation of the circle should be 19. Okay, now we have question number 16. In the xy plane, which of the following does not contain any points that are part of the solution set to 5x minus 7y is greater than 35? Now these are one of those many types of questions which could be done very easily using Desmos graphical calculator. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type this entire inequality on my Desmos graphical calculator and see what region do I get as my solution of this inequality. So for example, if you type this 5x minus 7y is greater than 35, so starting with 5x, and then I've got minus 7y is actually greater than the number 35. So I can see the region where my solution lies. Some part of it lies in the first quadrant, some part of it lies in the third and the fourth quadrant as well. But I don't see any part of this solution lying in the second quadrant. And in this second quadrant, if you notice, the value of x is always negative. It's always less than 0. And the value of y is always positive. So I need to choose any one of the answer options which represents this scenario, where the value of x is less than 0 or negative, and the value of y is greater than 0. Because the question clearly states that you have to find out the region for the no solution system does not contain any points that are part of the solution. So we are looking to figure out the region where the solution of this given graphical inequality does not lie. So that should be x is less than 0 and y is greater than 0, and that's mentioned in answer option D at the bottom again. Moving on to the next one, question number 17. Okay, so we are provided with a table over here, and what do we have to figure out? We have to find out the probability of a particular scenario. Remember this very important fact that whatever statement follows the word given that represents your denominator. What is my denominator? The person is at least 18 years old. So how many people do I have? How many people do I have which are at least 18 years old? I think from 18 to 40, 41 to 65, and greater than 65 years old. All these people altogether are at least 18 years old. So this is 21%, this is 29%, and this is 24%. So if I add them all together, I will get 74% in my bottom. So that's 74% representing my denominator, any statement that follows the word given that. Now what do I have to extract in my numerator? The probability of selecting a person who is greater than 65 years old. By the way, I'm not allowed to look at this row because no part of this row was part of my denominator. So you're going to completely eliminate this first row, and you're going to extract something from these 3 rows at the bottom. And what do you have to extract? Selecting a person who is greater than 65 years old. And how many people are greater than 65 years old? That's 24% right over here. So 24% divided by 74%. And if you type this on your calculator, 24 divided by 74, you will get the fraction value as 0.324. That's closest to 0.32 as my right choice as answer option B. Now let's have a look at question number 18. Question number 18 is a linear equation. We have a linear equation. Line J, this linear equation is called line H. Line J is perpendicular to line H, and you really have to figure out the slope of line J. So starting with the slope of line H first, negative coefficient of x, that's half, divided by coefficient of y, that's 1 over 9. If you simplify this one using a scientific calculator, or you can do it manually as well if you're good with basic algebraic simplification, that should come out as minus 9 over 2. But that's the slope of line H. I don't have to figure out the slope of line H. Instead, I have to figure out the slope of line J. That would be the exact negative reciprocal of the number minus 9 over 2. That should be 2 over 9 as my correct choice. And this question is basically on one of the 7 cases of interpretation of slopes. For example, if you see over here, I did mention all the 7 important cases of interpretation of slopes, and over here you can see the relation of slopes between 2 perpendicular lines. If one of them has a slope of 4 over 3, the other one should have a slope completely negative reciprocal to the first one. 1 over 7 should come out as minus 7, minus 1 should come out as 1, and 0 should come out as infinity or undefined. Over here, I had the slope of the first line as minus 9 over 2, but obviously the slope of line J should be completely negative reciprocal of the slope of minus 9 over 2 as 2 over 9. That should be the right choice for this question. Moving on to question number 19. Okay, so here is one really technical question. For the given data, the data values are listed in ascending order. So the first thing that I notice that all the values are in the right order. So obviously this most central value should be my median of the set. So I can always calculate the value of this constant B. For this data set, the mean is 36 and the median is 29. So the first thing that I know is the value of constant B is actually equal to 29 and the range is 72. Okay, this has to be the highest value of my set and this has to be the lowest value of my set because the data is given in the right order, in ascending order, while increasing from left to right. So obviously C has to be the greatest value of the set. C minus A is equals to 72 because the formula for range is always the highest value of the set minus lowest value of the set. So C minus A should be equal to 72. So now I've created one equation in terms of constant C and A. What else do I have? I have the mean of this entire set. That's given to me as 36. So if I try to calculate any other relationship between constants A and C, I'm going to use the formula for mean. Formula for mean is mean, that's 36, is always equal to the sum of all the numbers. So what do I have as sum of all the numbers? 26, the second number, plus 29, the third number, plus B, that's 29 again, the fourth number, plus 31, and plus 47. That's coming out as 162 over here, plus A plus C as the rest of the numbers. Divided by how many number of numbers do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to put 7 over here. So 36 times 7, that should be 252. I'm going to create another equation in terms of constants A and C. Just a moment. I really have to subtract 162 from this 252 as well. So 252 minus 162, that's coming out as 90. So I have the constant value, that's 90, and A plus C, plus A plus C. That's my second equation. And from these two equations, I need to calculate the value of constant C. You can just put this on your Desmos again, but I'm just solving these two equations algebraically. Adding both the equations C plus C would give me 2C, minus C and plus C are going to cancel each other. 90 plus 7 is always 162. And if you divide both of the sides by 2, you will get the right value of C as 81, which was something I was supposed to figure out in this question. So the right answer for this question should be answer option C over here. Okay, so what is question number 20? It's on right triangles and trigonometry. Okay, which expression represents the length of QS? So this is something that I have to figure out. QS, this is my QS. And if you see all your answer options, you really have to play with this angle Q, angle Q. Every single answer option over here have angle Q over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this angle Q to find out the value of side QS, which has to be my hypotenuse. So if you look, what is this side opposite to angle Q? That's 37. That would be your opposite side, and anything that is right in front of 90 degrees, that's always your hypotenuse. So I really have to deal with the opposite side and my hypotenuse side because I have to calculate my hypotenuse. So which ratio deals with opposite and hypotenuse? It's always sine. So I'm going to apply sine Q is equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite is 37 and hypotenuse is my QS. So if you multiply both of the sides by QS and then divide both of the sides by sine Q, you will create this algebraic equation. QS is coming out as 37 divided by sine Q. So that should be the value of QS. And this is perfectly mentioned in answer option D, 37 divided by sine Q. That will be the right answer for this question. Okay, the next one, question number 21. Okay, how many times does the graph of the given equation in the xy plane crosses the x-axis where a, b and c are positive constants, and the examiner gives you what do you need to suppose as your value of a and your values of b and c respectively. So what I can do, I can again use my Desmos scientific calculator for all these type of equations. I need to find out how many times does this exponential equation hits my x-axis. It basically hits my axis. Does it hits my x-axis twice, once, or does it never hits your x-axis? So we have got a lot of options. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply type this on my Desmos scientific calculator. I'm going to start with y, that was my first variable, is equals to, what do I have as the other constants? 9. So I'm going to start with 9 over here, and then I'm going to put a bracket, starting with a bracket, and then what do we have to put? A over 7. And if you want to put a as any value over here, you're allowed to put a as any number greater than 7. So for instance, if I put 14 over here, so this would become 14 divided by 7, a 2. You can put any number starting from 8, 9, 10, 11 till infinity. So I'm putting 14 over here just to make it easier. 14 divided by 7, that would be 2 as my rate. I'm just closing the bracket over here, and then I'm going to move on to my power. That's x plus c, x plus c. So you're allowed to put any value as your constant c because there's nothing specified for the value of the constant c. So I'm going to put any number for my constant c. So I'm going to type x plus c at the top. I'm going to start with the bracket again, x, the variable x. Let's say I'm putting c as the number 2, so let's put 2 over here, bracket close, and then I have to come at the bottom. What do I have as my baseline of this exponential function? That's negative b. But over here it's perfectly mentioned, it's clearly mentioned that whatever you're supposing your value of the constant c, the number b has to be greater than that value of c. So I supposed c as 2, so I'm going to put, instead I'm going to take my value of constant b as any number greater than 2. So let's put 5 over here, and let's see what type of graph I'm getting a graph which is hitting my x-axis just once. So how many times does this exponential function hits your x-axis, it just hits my x-axis once. So the right answer for this question should be answer option B as 1. Okay, moving on to the next question, the last question of module number 2. A certain town has an area of 4.29 square miles. What is the area in square yards of this town? But the ratio of lengths is given to you. 1 mile is equal to 1760 yards, and I know the value in miles, 4.29, and I'm looking to calculate the corresponding value in square yards. But here's a catch. Here's one important concept that a lot of people tend to miss. These are the ratios for the areas, but these are not the ratios of areas. These are the ratio of lengths. 1 mile versus 1760 yards, not 1 square mile versus 1760 square yards. You're not allowed to compare length with area. And in all these type of questions, make sure that if you have the ratio of areas at the bottom, you should have the ratio of areas at the top, but we don't have the ratio of areas at the top. What I'm going to do, I'm going to square the ratio of the lengths to convert them into ratio of areas, because what is length? Space occupied in 1D. And what is area? Space occupied in 2D. So whenever you have to convert the given ratio of lengths into ratio of areas, just square the ratio. And whenever you have to convert the given ratio of lengths into ratio of volumes, you just cube those ratios, because volume is always space occupied in 3D. So that's the relationship that I've created. Now I'm going to cross multiply things over here. 1 square times x, that will always give you 1 times x, and over here 1760 square is going to multiply itself by 4.29. so you're just going to do the basic multiplication stuff. X would come out as 13,288,704. That should be the right answer for this question. That is pretty much module number 1 for the latest November DSAT paper.